So hey guys, today me and Sajai are back after a long time. So today we're going to talk about ethnic alienation, ethnic enclaves, and self-segregation in modern Canada today. So as you guys know, I'm from Tiers, BC, so my town is diverse. It's not like we don't have people of color. There's a couple First Nations living here as well, and my town is about 70% white. And we have Sajai Singh, who, as you guys probably know from the past, he's from Surrey, so his city's pretty diverse. There's white people, Disses, Asians, other ethnicities too, much more diverse. But the thing that we wanted to talk about is, for example, is it actually like multicultural, like more Canadian living in a bigger city where you have different ethnicities or smaller towns? Like for me, for example, when I go down to the lower mainland, it can feel like you're in different countries at times. You go to Surrey, it feels like you're in India. Richmond feels like you're in China, right? North Vancouver feels like you're in Iran, certain areas, right? So it seems like people don't necessarily live amongst each other, different races. So I just wanted like Sachai's intake on that. Like, what do you feel living in a big city? Like, do you ever feel that for yourself living in Metro Vancouver?
I don't know. Like, obviously, being born and raised in Surrey, like most people, like whenever I went to school or whenever I saw people, I guess I always just lived in like mostly brown areas. Like, like even in Surrey, there's like lots of little regions, like if Newton, Wally, and like Guildfordish. Especially like Newton, I think is like or like kind of like closer to Delta. I think there's like a lot of brown people, and
Yeah.
then like places like Cloverdale, South Surrey, so on. Just a lot of white people, and even there, it's just like what it seems is like a lot of people are like kind of like sticking together, like a race, right? Like Cloverdale, it's mostly white people. White people moved there, so on. And whether in like Newton, something like that, a lot more brown people kind of come, and it's like mostly brown people, right?
Yeah.
And like I don't know, in schools, like whenever I went, it was mostly brown people when I went,
Yeah.
and there's always like a couple white kids, some more Asian people, and it'd probably be like 70% brown people, like 20ish or like 25% Asians, and like the rest white people, right? And I don't know, like I think it like depends also on the people. Like sometimes like there's groups of friends who would be like super multicultural and diverse, right? It's just like all colors, shapes, and sizes and everything. And then other times it's just like one race kind of like stick together, like just brown people, just Asians, so just white people or whatever. And I think it just kind of like depends on the people. So like I don't know if it's like multiculturalism, or is like some people just want to like be with their own, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess like I'll hand it back to you. Like, how's it in like Terrace? Like, is it more like obviously there's like a lot less brown people, right? But like, how's it up there?
So yeah, like for example, like it's mostly white and then First Nations, but there's a lot of like Punjabis here, right? Most of the Desis are Punjabis, and you have other Desis as well. There's a couple Asians, right? Um, a couple black people too here and there, right? So you do see everybody. It's not as noticeable, especially amongst like black, Hispanic, Middle Eastern. You don't really see them here too often, but within immigrants, I tend to notice that they kind of shy away from, like Canadians. Like even with me, for example, if they figure out I'm Canadian, they're kind of shy off, right? I think it's more of a cultural barrier, right? And language barrier. Like it's kind of awkward for them. But at the same time, if you don't want to, integrate with society, talk amongst other people, how are you going to progress in life? Of course you can. Like in Vancouver, for example, my mom and brother, when they go there, if they even talk English, people get surprised. Like they didn't say, "Oh, sasrika, hello, ki halka, apan ko ye chahiye hai," right?
Yeah.
People get a little bit shocked over there, like, "Oh, they speak English," but like, why are you getting shocked in Canada? Like you're living in Canada, right? See, the thing is, living in Surrey, moving in places, ethnic enclaves and stuff, but like, if you don't learn English, like that's the basic thing. If, like, let's say here, that's why some white people will complain. I can see from their side, but we call them racist. But they kind of say, well, they don't learn. Let's try to learn English. They keep hold on to the other ways because the thing is, we have a culture itself too, right? we have Canadian culture itself too. And I would say I'm quite Canadian myself. Like, although I wear a pug, although I have a beard and stuff, I'm very, very well Canadian, right? I talk amongst other races and stuff, but I noticed this thing too. I will not only say this issue is on our hand, but also the Canadians that live here themselves. Not only white people, right? Our own people, Judeo Canadian born, yeah, which you would sometimes call yukke, right? You and me are Canadian born. They will shit on students because they call them fogs, right? Which is totally like, that's something else we could talk about another video, but I'll get into it, right? They'll make fun of them just because they're from another country. And then I'll also see some white people, like, they'll probably assume like I'm a student, so they'll not want to try talk, right? Because they're like, okay, like that what do you say, that barrier, right? That cultural barrier or that language barrier that's there, so they're kind of afraid of that too. But I feel like in 2021, if we haven't solved that issue, where are we going to go forward with this, right? These ethnic enclaves, if they get bigger and bigger, people start to, like, that's what I say, self-segregation, right? Like, for example, in Brampton, like we were talking about earlier, Brampton in the 2001 census, they said there was 192,000 white people, and today that number hovers around 140 to 150,000 people. So like, they're leaving. Brown people are moving into that area in Brampton. I know it's not that severe in Surrey because I always track the data, but I'm just like saying, like, if we're heading into this direction, right? Like, it's a big issue, because when you think about Canada, we think about everybody living amongst each other. But if we're headed into this direction, what's the future of Canada? Because yeah, Canada is not only a country of white people. We can agree to that. Canada is not only a country of First Nations, although they were first here, but Canada is a country of all of us. If we are going to see a future of us living in separate areas, this is more seen in big cities, not in small towns like here, because people live amongst each other. But where is our Canada headed to? That's my thing. Like, I know I've said a lot, but what do you have to, from what I've said, I know that's a lot to digest, but what would you?
I don't know, because it is like from, especially from like immigrants, right? Like, I understand why, like, a lot of immigrants want to move, amongst their own, right? It's because, like, oftentimes English is not the first language, and just like, so just based off communicating, it'd just be like easier if you were like around your own people, right?
Yeah.
So like, I understand why like a lot of brown people are coming to Surrey or like Brampton, is just because it's easier, right? It's like, then you can just talk in Punjabi. You don't really have to learn English that well, because most people are Punjabi, most shops are Punjabi, most stores and all that. So it's pretty easy to do most things in Punjabi, right? So I understand, like, from that standpoint, where immigrants just want to move amongst their own, right?
Yeah.
But like, I think, like, amongst like the people who are born here is not that like drastic, right?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it is like a little bit more multicultural. Like, people do hang out with like people of different races and all that. So I'm not sure, like, if Canada will just be split up into like just like a bunch of tiny or like just cities where like it's just like one race predominantly, or if it will be like actually like cities with like actual multiculturalism with people like of all races and everything, or will it just be like just cities of brown people, cities of white people, cities of it's like kind of like Surrey and Brampton, right? The brown towns, or like stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but because obviously I think like we all do want like multiculturalism, right? But it's just like, I think like the biggest factor why people don't is because of racism, right? Because first,
For
they're
sure.
probably scared of like racism from white people, right? Because I mean, like India, right? We got fucked over by the British for like hundreds of years, and still like facing all those like impacts and like consequences of like what they did there. So it's just like, I don't think a lot of people have like positive feelings towards white people, right? And especially like when you see like racist kind of Karens and like all this kind of shit all the time, it's just like, oh, like, I rather just avoid that. I don't want
Yeah.
to like be next to them, right?
It's a
And
yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, like, I was just saying, like you could even argue like, is that racist, right? But again, because like white people have done like fucked up shit for so long, like, is it like, are we allowed to kind of like just assume like kind of the worst of white people, right? And like live away. So like, I don't know, like, what were you gonna say about that?
So my thing is, I live in a small town, and I live in northern BC, right? And there's white people here. Of course, there's some of them are racist, but I would say only five, like in my town, only 1 out of 20 people are racist. I've noticed, like we were mentioning in that video where those sick men were attacked, right, by like the black individual, but we were trying to say like what we really want to say is like everybody is racist. Like I'm pretty sure you've seen like these brown people that are very racist towards other races. Like for example, our look, you're very racist towards Kale. Like you've seen that, right?
Yeah.
Sharayam say it. But like in Vancouver, I've noticed people are racist there, but they're behind closed doors. If they meet somebody from another race, they'll probably do this and that, right? Over here, people are more straight to the face. The 5% racists are everywhere, right? Whereas in bigger cities, I think white people are more like resistant to being racist, right? But I honestly think that white people in bigger cities are much more racist, but they're a lot more hidden about it. Over here, you work amongst them, they treat us good. People have an over exaggeration of white people being racist in small towns. It's not that bad how they think of it, right? Of course, you get the look, right? Because I don't really think it's racist if somebody's even like just staring at you for 3 or 5 seconds or just looking at you, right? Because they don't really see you every day, right? They're not gonna, especially if you're like a Sardar or a Sikh, right? It's not like you're gonna see somebody for pug every day. Like they probably see 2 or 3 or maybe 5 on a good day. But like they'll probably see one a day, like, oh, it's a, but most people know Sikhs here. But what I was going to say is, it's so deep.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, like the whole thing it's just like, even like white people, right? Like if white people be like, oh, like I just want to live among my own, right? Like that's racist, right? Because obviously
that would be considered racist. That's considered racist, right?
Yeah.
See, I was sorry to cut you off, bro. That's what I wanted to say. If a white person wants to live amongst their own, he's considered a racist. But if Apane want to do that, they're not considered racist. That's more about, oh, they want to get comfortable, this and that. For an immigrant standpoint, I can totally understand, right? Because it's hard, but like at the same time, you want to integrate. If you don't learn English, because that's the main thing, when you move to another country, you're supposed to learn their language. If a white person moves to, let's say, India, right? There's some places that he'll get by in English, but if he doesn't learn Hindi, it's going to be difficult for him. So with that, immigrants tend to stick there. They get too comfortable. They don't want to go anywhere else. See, that's the issue. But like with the Canadian-born Punjabis, they still have those questions. As you live up north, the housing prices are expensive. How much Apane are there? Is it racist? They still, all of them, although they're Canadian-born, they still have that fear of. With the one question, this is not really that racist to ask. Is there, how many Apane are there? Right?
Yeah.
Kind of, it's racist, but like, like why does that matter anyways? But they just want to know so they can. I think that's more of a sense of they can feel safer. That's what one of my white friends was saying. He said they're probably asking that so they can probably think, oh, it's probably not that racist. They've probably seen them. And then the other question is it racist? So even our Canadian-born Punjabis or people of color, they still have that sense of fear. But like we still live in 2021. So like if we think race on top of our heads, even the Canadian-born, although a lot of them are moving to Kelowna and stuff, you probably heard that. They're moving out from Surrey, going to Kelowna, other places, Abbotsford, Hope, people are even moving. But yeah, and at the same time, like for people of color to say, I'm proud to be black, I'm proud to be, South Asian, I'm proud to be, right, Middle Eastern or Hispanic or Native, right? You can say that. But if a white person says, I'm proud to be white, he's considered racist. So we live in this kind of society where although white people can be racist and still there is a bit of oppression, not as much as it used to be back in the day, white people still have to look at what they do because they'll be considered racist much more easier than if somebody of color were to do that. But I cut you off. I don't know if you forgot what you were gonna say, but yeah, that's what I have to say.
Yeah, no, I don't know, because even like the whole like we judge white people much harsher, right? It's like are we like, is it okay to do that? Like, because we can even kind of like talk about that, like, or I guess maybe not in this video, but like, obviously like we can say that, if you want to live among your own, it is kind of racist, right? Because like
It is.
especially brown people, they are racist. They're like, oh, I don't want to live next to black people. I don't want to live next to like Gene. I don't want to live next to like Gore or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And because I guess like everyone does feel like safer amongst their own,
Their
right?
own, yeah.
Because even I feel like if it was like even in India, right? Like it's just like it's like whatever we like the little groups that we have. Like in
Yeah.
India, it's just like if like Punjabis, if like a Sikh moves into like a Hindu neighborhood or something, right? I'm sure like they wouldn't feel that comfortable, even though they're all brown, right?
Yeah.
But like here, it's just because there's less brown people, so it's just like even if they are like Hindus or like uh, even like Middle Eastern or whatever, at least like as long as they're like kind of similar like skin color and all that, like I think it's more
They
like
feel more. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
You got a good point.
So it's just like I don't know. I think it's just always like people just want to be next to like their own, and I don't know if that's like racist or like if should it be allowed? Because like again, if like white people are like, nah, Canada's for white people. Why are all like the other people moving here? Like Canada should like I just want to be next to my own. Like white people don't really have that option to say that, right? So I don't know. I think it's kind of like interesting. I don't think it's bad that people want to live next to their own, but at the same time, it's just like you shouldn't just try like that shouldn't be like your main goal or whatever. Like you should at least try to, I think, try to diversify. Like try to, talk to other people, try to do all that. But like, I
Your
don't know.
location
It's
should
interesting.
be your wanting location shouldn't be based off of race. That's what I'm basically saying. Where you want to stay shouldn't be based off race. It should be based off what you like in the area. What jobs are there, right? The reason why I stay here, to be honest, for me, it's different. I don't like to live amongst my own. I feel like, for example, what I was gonna say is I know I'm gonna get a lot of shit for this, but it's true. It's true. I don't shy away from the truth. I don't like living amongst where, when Upper become a majority, let's say they go above 30 or 20% of the population in an area, I just noticed the amount of respect that amongst our own people, it starts to decrease. And like, I hate to say it, but like, like look at Surrey and Brampton. Like, just think of your average stereotypes or what you think about those places, like what goes down there. Like, for me, I prefer to live in areas where my people are a minority, especially Sikhs, because I notice they become more higher of value. They have better respect amongst the white folks too. If you go to any small town in BC and ask them how the Punjabis are or the East Indians, they're gonna be there's a lot of good stuff they have to say about it. So it all comes to preference. Like, you could say I'm racist, that I don't like living in places where there's a lot of my own, right? I like to live in a place, for me, what I like to see is, one is there up and there, right? So there's at least, you see them, they're like, yeah, there's some of us here and stuff. Another thing, second is, it's not totally preferred, but like if there's a Gurdwara there, that's number two. And yeah, and that's pretty much about it. But like for you, for example, I know I don't want to put you on the spotlight, but for you personally, like, do you like living amongst places where there's a lot of Apane, or like, like there are some but not too much, or like it doesn't really matter to you? Like, would you move out of Surrey, for example? Like, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like if I would go to like an all-white place or something, like I would feel uncomfortable, right? It's
Of,
just
of course,
like
yeah.
so like if I were to choose, I'd probably just. I mean, I don't know. Like move away from Surrey is just kind of like a weird question because like I've just been like this is my home so far, right?
Yeah.
So I haven't really like lived anywhere else. So it's just like I don't know if it's better, worse, but like Surrey is my home. So like from that standpoint, like I would prefer to stay here. But like,
Would you move to, like, for example, let's say in Surrey, let's say if you were to move to like Cloverdale or South Surrey, would you feel uncomfortable there? Although there are up and there, like that's a good example. Like, would you move to Cloverdale or South Surrey or White Rock? Like, there are up and there. Like, it's not like there aren't any there, but like, just for an example like that, let's say, would you feel comfortable moving to somewhere like that? Like, it's mostly white, but you still have other races around there. Would you feel comfortable moving there?
I think I'd like overall would be comfortable, but obviously like there would always be like a little bit like uneasiness and all that, especially at the beginning. But I think like overall at the end, you kind of get used to it, and then you're like, oh yeah, these people aren't so bad or whatever, right? Which I guess is kind of racist, but like
The fear, for sure.
yeah, I don't
And
know. It's just it's tricky.
and I think that's something that we have to overcome, especially in a city like Vancouver. Like, it's very diverse, and like if people are still thinking like it's, you see, it sucks that we have that, but like what can you do to it? What can we do to improve it? Like that's another thing that I don't like about it is this amount of uneasiness. It was never that much back. Well, you can say that, but like
I don't know, I think it's also just like how we want to like fit in. You know, I
yeah,
think like every human just wants to fit in. They don't want to be different, or like most people do, anyways, right? There's always like a couple outliers who want to be different, who want to, like, who aren't comfortable when people look at them and stuff. But I think most people tend to just, want to not be noticed by other people, kind of just want to be quiet and want to just lay low and chill. And I think that's another part of why people want to do it. They just
yeah.
want to be like normal, seen as normal, right?
And like another thing you raised was like when people see us, they probably think about like Indian or Punjabi or Sikh. Like they don't really see you as a Canadian, right? And that's one experience that I had at Clanza Creek. The woman asked me, "Where are you from?" This and that's a long story. It's on one of my other videos I had, but yeah, when people see you, they usually think of you as an Indian or whatever color you look like. They don't really see a Canadian, right? So like that's what we have to see when you see another individual. We have to change that mindset, not looking at somebody as a white person, black, green, blue, purple, or brown person. We have to look at them like as a Canadian, because this country is literally a country of immigrants, right? But I think as time goes on, it'll ease off. But like, see, now I'm gonna sound like a racist. If a white person said this, they'd be considered racist. But like, that's the issue I have with mass immigration is it doesn't allow new immigrants to assimilate. Not to assimilate. Assimilate's a different thing. Assimilate's like throwing away your culture and just like totally like ignoring it. But integration is like keeping onto your culture but associating with other communities, other Canadians. But with mass immigration, we have so much coming at once. They stick amongst one another, and you lose a sense of integration. So the culture of Canada will. In that case, the culture of Canada will go away. Yes, we are a multicultural country, but we are a multicultural country that celebrate each other's traditions. Right? That's right.
Yeah.
I know that might sound xenophobic, but it isn't when you're looking at your country's interests, right? And if people want to say that's xenophobic, that's sure. Like as Canadians, you and me are born here. We have to look at the best interests of our nation. Yes, we need immigrants here, but we don't want it like it can tarnish the country and it just keeps us as like split. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I think you bring up a good point. It's just, again, it's just very tricky, right? Because like, how would you like do you just stop like, immigration, or do you like, make it harder for people to come in, or
You can
like whatever you
definitely
do, it's just weird.
you can definitely see that like in small towns we need them, but this is what immigrants do. And they come here, students come here, they study, they get their PR, and they move to Surrey or Brampton. Like some students are treated like shit here. I'm not gonna lie, right? In small towns they can be treated like that too, but see, it's a problem on both ends. It's a problem with I don't need to just look at white people because that throws them under the bus. It's a funny thing. The students, they'll move from a place that's here, like some white people treat them like shit, or some natives will treat them like shit here. But it's no different. You're gonna get treated by shit by the Canadian-born Punjabis in Vancouver anyways. You've seen it. You've seen what they say, oh, fob, food in. Like, what difference is it? Like, with you, yeah, you can face racism here. That's what we talked about in our video. You can face racism from white people here too, but you can also face racism. Like, you won't face racism, but you can deal with shit from your own too. Like, they'll make fun of you, like Yanni and stuff, and like make fun of you. So like, are you really safe anywhere? So yeah, there we have it, the video on this very controversial subject. So hopefully in the future, don't know if this will go viral or not, but it is two brown guys talking about it. Usually when white people talk about this, they're considered racist. Well, I'll probably be called like a traitor stuff, but at the end of the day, I'm just looking at the best interests of my country and seeing for it to go forwards. You don't have to be white to be Canadian, if you want the best interests of the country. And I think me and Sajai brought up some good points, and I'm very happy on having him here. If you guys can give him a sub, that would be amazing. And give me a sub myself. I'm pretty close to 1,000 subscribers. So yeah, thanks for listening to our rant if you want to consider it, or listen to our info. And thanks for watching the video. Take care.